Cleary.
Yep.
A lot of us thought that he might get a call up given that Trengo and Carlo are out and his form's been pretty good in the SANFL. What was the decision there?
It was either going to be Tom or Cam O'Shea. They're both basically the same height. Cam's got a little bit more history of playing AFL football, and both were in equally as good a form in the sample. So I suppose it was just a little bit of Cam's ability to have done it for us over the last 12 months has been pretty consistent. He played 24 games last year. We know that he adds to our run as well, and Tommy the bit the same. So they're almost line ball. So it was one that we just went with the bloke that we thought at the end of the day was the best equipped to give us a bit of, I suppose, a different look at times when we need it.
And why no need for two? You've lost two players. You only brought in one defender. What was the thinking about that? Typically,
we've almost been one extra down there most of the time. So one of our talls has had to play small a little bit. So we didn't feel like that was a big knock on us as far as losing two of the defenders as talls. We'd love to have them both in the side, obviously, but purely from a height point of view, it doesn't disrupt us that much. The biggest disruption is the Jacko one into the ruck, which obviously we can't replace that, so we have to go down the other end and go to Westhoff probably is more often than not.
So how does that throw out this week? As you said, obviously taking away one of your two gun forwards to put in the ruck more. How does that change the parameters for the power?
Not too much, because we've actually done that quite a lot. Yeah. So it's not something we're unfamiliar with. So it's not one that we go, oh, our forward line looks really different and we're talking small moments in the game. We're not talking for big parts of the game. We've taken Westhoff away from there and put him behind the ball at times too, and done that deliberately. So we think our forward line functions pretty well when it's small or a bit taller, so it doesn't worry us too much.
You still happy with Cleary's development though?
Oh yeah, Tommy's doing really well. Tommy's right on the cusp. I mean, he's emergency. So if something was to go wrong and one of our other defenders went down, Tommy Cleary would play, unless it was a small that went down. And then obviously Tommy Logan's in pretty good form too. So we're lucky that the Magpies boys are all in really good form, and we could call on a number of those players with confidence. And Tom Cleary and, as you say, Cam O'Shea coming in, we've got confidence that they can come in and play.
Some of the rest of the guys, rest of the competition, it looks like they've caught up to the top of the ladder now. Do you sort of see this game as one of those vital ones to really cement yourself in the top four and top two?
Yeah, no, look, every game's vital. I mean, that's the trouble. The ladder's just the results. It all comes together at the end of the year. But we've just got to really focus in on getting our performance right this week after a disappointing performance last week.
How have the boys sort of responded from last week during this week training?
It's probably, to really honest, really hard to know until we start playing tomorrow night a little bit. But if I can go on training form and go on our week, I'm pretty confident the boys have actually responded really, really quickly to what happened last week, and they're a proud group. They want to play really well. As I said, over the 14 games that we've played, we've lost 3 by small margins. They compete pretty hard every time we play, and that's what I like about them. They kind of turn up.
So that vibe of training hasn't really changed too much over this week as opposed to the last month. Is that a good sign?
Yeah, you can't let it. You actually can't. You don't really want it to change because you want the mindset to stay the same all the way through, and that's what gives you consistent performance. Is if your mindset's always the same. We train to win, and that's what the boys want to do. They want to train to win every time we go out and train. So they've done that again on Wednesday night, and I look forward to them doing it again this morning.
What's been your message to the players during the week? I feel that the boys have spoken about the fact that good teams rarely lose 2 in a row. Has that been a strong message from you during the week as well?
Yeah, look, it sort of has, and there's no doubt that that's sort of the message, but it's more about good teams have behaviours that they follow, and they come out consistently and they perform consistently, and that's what every club tries to do. We want to be really consistent with the way we play. We got beat by a good side last week, and there's nothing, there's disappointment in that, but we also understand that we got beat by a good side and that we were off. They made us off. We need to respond and make sure that we have as many of our good players or our players in good form every game.
And you're confident that the team's still tracking nicely? I mean, there's been a few people suggesting that maybe, and there's no evidence of it yet, but just maybe Port may have peaked a bit early and you might taper off. You don't see any sign of that at all?
Been saying it all year. They've been waiting for Port to taper off. I can't control that. I've got no control at all over that. Port weren't going to make the finals. Port weren't going to do this. Port weren't going to do that. Port are just going to turn up and play hard footy and give themselves a chance to be where they need to be at the end of the year. That's for those people who have got any doubt about us. We haven't got any doubt internally.
And tomorrow night's another chance to prove that.
Oh well, every game's a chance to play the way that Port Adelaide want to play football. That's what we talk about. We don't talk about this is a better chance. That's a worse chance. It's about every time we play with the attitude that we're not going to give up. We're going to give the best that we've possibly got, and that's what we want to go and do again tomorrow night.
Talk about that sort of unwavering internal Does it strengthen you a bit when you get some people start to turn a little bit?
No. No, it doesn't. I mean, I say that pretty coldly, but it doesn't. That's our job is to stay focused on what we can control, you know, and all the other stuff. If you go a bit silly sometimes if you spend all your time worrying about what someone's saying or not saying, and is it good, is it bad. Yeah. What I've said before is that you guys will write and say what we deserve to have written and said about us. You know, if we didn't play well last week, we deserve to have that written about us.
In your review meetings of Showdown 37, anything identified specifically that went wrong for you last week?
I think in the second half they certainly got on top in the contested ball stuff, and the numbers tell you that. But I think their want to get the ball, and some of their key leaders we haven't shied away from. Our leaders haven't shied away from saying that their key leaders stood up at times in the game when it was pretty important, and that's credit to them.
How do you rate Essendon?
Well, it's an interesting form line. Again, if you were sitting here doing the form, you go Essendon beat Adelaide, Adelaide beat us, we're playing Essendon. I mean, that's what AFL footy's like. Every side's good. Every side can really play well on their day. Essendon have shown, last week in the game, they smashed Geelong in the third quarter, but they end up losing the game. So it's just the way the game is. They're a really good side. Obviously they've got other stuff going on around them. It makes it sometimes a little bit of a challenge for them, but I think they come out on game day to just relieve all the other stuff and play footy.
And who are their biggest threats? Is it their midfield? I know Watson's missing, but guys like Goddard and Hebble's been in terrific form as well.
Oh yeah, they've got really good players all over the park. There's no doubt about that, and they'll see our tall backs out and see that as a significant opportunity for them. Their midfield, if they get enough supply and they push it in there in as much as they want, that's going to make it a big challenge for us. But they over the whole ground, they're a pretty consistent football team. They've got good key backs, good key forwards, as you say, really elite midfield, great ruckman. It's going to be a real challenge.
And how for you coaching against Bomber Thompson?
Yeah, that's actually, I think it's the first time. I think we played him in the NAB Cup. So, look, I suppose for me and for other coaches, there's 4 or 5 coaches that I've actually worked with. So in the competition, so you're almost coaching against someone from working with them almost every second week now. So it's no big deal. I've got to focus in on what Port Adelaide do, and Bomber will be focusing on what Essendon do. And at the end of the game, we'll say good luck for the rest of the season. We'll move on.
With Trengo's surgery, when do you sort of think you'll get an idea in terms of how it's settled down and how it's tracking?
I think within about 2 weeks is the really honest answer. The surgery is to help promote the getting him back quicker. It gives Jacko a chance to recover a little bit quicker than it would be if we had went a little bit slower with the plaster and stuff that we could have done. So we expect that in 2 weeks' time that he'll be actually out of the moon boot and being able to start moving, and that's when you'll get an idea. But with the injury he's got, you're probably going to have, is it 2 weeks, is it going to be, and then you're going to get another update. It could be another week, it could be he's ahead of schedule a little bit, and then he could slow down a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit of wait and see. But we're really hopeful, in fact, really confident that he'll get back for a good part of the last 4 or 5 games.
What do you actually do? Is it just get a bit of a clean up in there? Or?
No, it's a syndesmosis injury, which is a separation of bones in your leg. So they actually help pull them together a bit, and that's the, Monfries has done it, Wingard's done it. This year we've had a number of players done it. We've seen Hanbury do it against us. It's the same injury, so straight away they're more difficult than just a simple ankle sprain to deal with.
So it's not a break as such?
No. It's just it's what happens if you've seen the injury, you got pulled back over the leg, and that's exactly what Hanbury done. Yeah. So it does cause a bit of separation at the bones at the base of your ankle or the base of your leg. Yeah. So it causes a little bit of problems.
Phil Walsh mentioned during the week that you'd have a selection decision to make over whether to put John Butcher in as well this week, given the fact Westhoff might do more rucking. In the end, you obviously decided to go that way?
No, we felt as if the players that have been in our forward half have been doing the job really well for us. Westy's been in the ruck for us at times whilst that's been going on. He'll spend a few more moments in the ruck, I assume, as the game unfolds, but it won't be that big a disruption to us. As I said, all of last year, we played that way. We played with Westhoff as our ruck change-up.
You've been pretty lucky in terms of injuries that you've had, obviously, both you and Matt White and a few of those guys out at a period of the season, but to have 2 key defenders out, is this the biggest challenge in terms of personnel? Obviously, the method and the structures you hope stand out regardless of who's missing. But 2 of those guys have been reasonably lucky with injuries.
Yeah, we disagree with you that we've been lucky with injuries. That's the only, because we've got 4 long-term injuries. As I keep saying, Colquhoun, people don't rate Colquhoun for some reason. He played in our finals last year. Redden, we thought was an up-and-coming dominant ruckman. So we've had, and then we've got Renouf and we've got Campbell Heath, who are long-term injuries. That affects you. It doesn't matter. People just look at, oh, there's 2 key backs out now. That's going to affect you more than, is that going to affect us more than we had Monfries and Wingard out? We had them out on the same day. So, you know, you've got to be a side that doesn't operate as much around personnel, because the injuries are going to come and you're not sure when they're going to come. So we know that we're in a position now that we can cover players that we lose. And yes, they're 2 tall defenders, and that does disrupt little bits of what we do, but it's an opportunity for us, and I see it as an opportunity to do some other stuff and some different things.